All right. How are you?
Pretty good, pretty
Pretty
good.
good.
I'm doing my
I'm doing
first
my first
edition
edition
of what I'm
of
going
what
to
I'm going to
call
call
Keto
Keto
Talk
Talk
Thursdays.
Thursdays.
Amazing.
So I'm
I'm
hoping that I
hoping that
can
I can
get
get
somebody to
somebody to
interview,
interview,
get some
get some
knowledge
knowledge
for
for
myself and
myself and everybody
else.
else.
I
I
understand you're a
understand you're a
nutritionist,
nutritionist,
and I've
and
learned a
I've learned
lot
a
from
lot from
watching
watching
you
you
and
and
John and Coach
Coach
Rob,
Rob,
and
and
I was
I was
hoping you
hoping you
could
could
touch on
touch
that
on
and
that and how
this
this
system works
system works
great as far
great
as
as far as
nutrition.
nutrition.
For sure. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Jennifer Morris. I am from Canada, and I've been involved in the nutrition and health world now for 25 years. I've worked in the food industry. I've worked in the pharmaceutical industry. I changed my life about 11 years ago and opened up my own CrossFit gym. And I've always had the fundamental belief that it's more than just about what you put in your mouth when it comes to your health. It's everything. Um, and I myself have gone through a lot of health struggles in my life, and I've learned a lot along the way. And what you'll probably find, Ivan and friends, is that, you know, most people who have been through some kind of health struggle and have come out of it in a positive way on the other end have learned a lot along the way. Because as we know, you know, navigating the healthcare system can be quite daunting. And you have to really take, you know, your health into your own hands if you want to survive, but not just survive, and you want to thrive, right? And that's really why I do what I do and why I share this conversation around ketones so passionately. I found ketones from Pruvit 2 years ago, just over 2 years now. And I was introduced to the product just because at the time I was really struggling with fat loss. And knowing everything I know about nutrition and exercise, this seems kind of hard to believe. And people look at me today and they don't understand that I've always struggled with my weight. I've always had excess body fat that I just could never really get rid of. I've got really good at hiding it. And so there were times in my life that I was definitely leaner than others, but 2 years ago I was struggling. I'm almost 50 years old, going through a lot of hormonal changes, and the fat wouldn't come off. I got married 2 years ago, and my motivation was I need to look good in my wedding dress. I want to look great on my wedding day. I mean, what bride doesn't, right? And so I saw a photo of a friend of mine. His name is John, Coach John Smay. He's also a fellow CrossFit gym owner. And I saw a photo that he posted, and John is older than me and married happily. He has no reason to be posting half-naked pictures of himself on Facebook, you know, and so I saw this photo and it just kind of tweaked my curiosity, because I know that a gym owner whose reputation is everything is not going to go starting to talk about something just without having done some due diligence and some research. And so I immediately messaged him, and he said, well, John, Michelle, that's his wife, Michelle and I have just been drinking ketones. And I said, what are you talking about? You can't drink ketones. If you want to be in ketosis, I thought, you have to do a very strict ketogenic diet. You have to starve yourself or fast for very long periods of time, or you have to exercise a lot. And that's really the 3 ways before that you can get into ketosis. He's like, no, you just drink them and you're in ketosis within an hour. And I was like, you know what, John? I've tried everything. I will try this. And I committed at that point. And this is important because a lot of people don't understand this. Fat loss is not a 5-minute process. Fat loss takes patience. Fat loss takes consistency. Getting healthy takes patience and consistency. I have been struggling with my health since my early 30s, almost 20 years now, that I've been on a health journey to figure out how to be my best. And so there is no magic pill. And that is the first thing I will tell people. Ketones are not a magic pill. However, they would be what I would say, in my experience in 25 years, the closest thing I have ever found to a magic pill in terms of fat loss, energy, mood, sleep, better digestion, clearer skin. The list goes on and on. Less aches and pains, better joint mobility. All of these things I noticed relatively quickly for me. My experience may be different from other people, and that's something that's important for people to understand. Some people, depending on how their health is, don't necessarily feel the difference that ketones are making in their body immediately. I noticed a difference in 1 hour. I would say that's probably the case in about, I'm going to say probably 60 to 70% of the population. But there are a segment of the population that are dealing with a lot of underlying health issues. They may not even realize that they have, and it may take longer to feel the difference. What you need to know is that, and I'm going to mix up my ketones here. It's, almost 9 o'clock at night, and I'm drinking decaffeinated ketones, and I just mix them in my water bottle. And I know from experience that by doing this, it's going to help me sleep, because they really have a great effect on the brain. And so, through the years over the last 2 years, I've immersed myself in everything to do with ketones and ketosis. We are not promoting a diet here at all. The only diet that works is the one that you're going to do consistently over time. So I don't eat a strict ketogenic diet. I just eat a diet that I know works for me, which is real food. And that's my best advice for people from a nutritional standpoint. You can see like how, well, you can't really see in the bottle, but it mixes up so nicely. Like I don't even have a shaker ball in here, and it's clear. I'm gonna have a sip. Do you have some specific questions? Because I could just ramble because I get so passionate.
Well, I think I'm echoing.
I might be echoing because I don't have a headset.
No, yours is fine. But I think I'm echoing.
I don't hear echoing.
Okay.
No,
just I'm a veteran. I know healthcare very well. I've got some service-related injuries I've been dealing with through the years. And I have noticed in the past month and a half or so that I've been taking the Pruvit ketones. I'm not taking the Motrin as much. Yeah, I'm echoing. So I'm not sure. If friends are feeling the same or what their experience are. I know this change. I'm just curious to learn as much as I can.
Right. Well, it's really simple. And I don't like to overcomplicate things with ketones because I think people get all caught up in trying to figure out the science of it all and everything. But the bottom line is that the first thing people confuse is the word ketosis. So it used to be that ketosis meant that you were actually burning fat, whether it was your own fat or the fat that you were eating. And what happens nutritionally speaking or biologically speaking in your body is that when you are consuming a high fat diet with 0 carbohydrates, or when you're fasting, or when you're consuming your own body fat, your body would take the fat and convert it in the liver. This is very, very simple overview of what I'm saying here, into ketones. And there's 3 types of ketones that your body naturally produces. The first one is acetone, which your body pees out. So when we measure on the pee strips, that's what we're measuring is acetone. The second one is something called acetoacetate, which plays a role in human energy production as well. But the most important one that we're interested in is something called beta hydroxybutyrate, or BHB for short. And that is what is in Pruvit ketones. And so BHB basically enters into our human energy production in our mitochondria, which are the powerhouses of our cell, to produce energy, which is called ATP, for you science nerds, adenosine triphosphate. And when we have ketones, we actually produce more ATP or energy than if we were just running on a glucose-based metabolism. So that's why people feel more energetic. Now, you know, from a fat loss standpoint, what's really important for people to understand is that when you drink ketones now, these are not, we don't have to process these. These are going directly into our body. There's no liver involvement or anything. They're like literally in our blood. So the state of ketosis, the definition has changed. So the state of ketosis now means that we have this elevated level of ketones in our blood, and we can get these now by just drinking them. This is where people get confused, because really the other process that I just described is called ketogenesis, which is the generation of ketones. We're not talking about ketogenesis when we drink ketones. We're talking about elevating our blood ketone levels to a level that gives us energy, better focus, better mood, all of those amazing things. And what happens is that because our brain, which is the largest energy using organ in our body, it uses more than 20% of the energy that is, your body will feed your brain before anything else, because it's pretty much keeping you alive. So when you drink ketones, or when you have ketones present, your brain is just super happy. Like, your brain loves ketones, and it will take ketones up faster and preferentially over glucose when ketones are present. It does so many things for our brain, and there's so many amazing research studies now coming out about the effects of ketosis on the brain, of having that higher level or therapeutic level of ketones for our brain. And so that's why, like, people feel so great. People with like memory issues, you know, maybe some head issues and that kind of stuff, they tend to feel really amazing. Like, personally, I was suffering with like major brain fog before ketones. I couldn't remember things. My focus was terrible. And then literally like that all changed. And that's, for me, if there's one reason why I will always drink ketones, is for my brain health. So what happens when your brain is fed and it has energy, what ends up happening is you just don't want to have all that excess food and energy potentially from calories that are maybe like empty calories, right? And what's crazy is, like, people will start drinking ketones, and I'll just say to them, listen, you're not going to change anything with your diet. I just want you to pay attention to how you feel. So what will happen is that, and inevitably, like within a week, people are like, oh my gosh, I feel amazing. Now what do I need to do to change my diet so I can feel even better? And so ketones are like giving people motivation. They're helping people create compliance to a healthier lifestyle. And so as we start to eat better food, we have more nutrient dense foods. We're not eating as many calories anymore. And that's how fat loss really happens. And that's really simplistic, but that's the basics of it, right? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense to me.
Cool. So, you know, like a lot of people ask me, you know, what do I do for my diet? What do I eat? How much should I eat? All that good stuff. And I really encourage people, we have a system called the Keto Reboot. And if you're one of those people that suffers from like food addictions, lots of cravings, you know, that sort of psychological need to eat, which a lot of people do. Like, we are stress eating, emotional eating, that kind of stuff. Like, that is a huge problem, right? And what do we tend to go for? We tend to go for like sugary things, comfort foods, and those have tons of excess calories. They don't make us really healthy at all. They take our health away from us. The Reboot, which is a 60-hour abstaining from food, drinking ketones, drinking some Better Broth, which is a great product, drinking some Keto Calm tea, and taking our amazing Signal OS tablets, which are like a DNA repair molecule. That I find really helps people overcome those food addiction issues, helps people break through plateaus. So what I encourage people to do is get ketones in your body by drinking at least 1 serving per day. You cannot drink too many ketones. What your body doesn't use for energy, you'll basically excrete. I personally drank 1 serving a day for a year until I was working with a like a performance coach for CrossFit, because I'm a competitive athlete. And she actually said to me, Jennifer, I want you to drink 2 servings, sometimes 3 servings a day, because it's going to help do a couple of things. Well, a lot of things. It's going to help you recover better. It's going to help you feel less sore. It's going to help you perform better, have more mental clarity during your performance, and it's going to help you sleep better, which is an athlete. Okay, great. So about a year ago, I started drinking 2 servings a day, and I noticed even more massive improvements for myself. Do you have to do 2 a day? No. If you want to do 1 a day to start, that's what I would suggest. See how you feel, and then start to play around with maybe 2 servings here and there. And and that's something that, you know, like as a coach with people, I don't like to overwhelm people with too much stuff. But from a nutritional standpoint, like, just shop the perimeter of the grocery store. Be careful, because the grocery stores are getting smart and they're putting junk food in the outside now because they know that message, right? So you want to eat as nutrient dense foods as you can. Like, focus on protein. Protein is so important. I just listened to a podcast today with a specialist in protein metabolism, and most people are under eating on protein. So especially vegetarians and vegans, you've really got to watch out. You've got to get your protein in, guys. It's so important for your health. So high quality meats is best quality you can afford. It doesn't matter what kind of meats, meats, fish, eggs, those kinds of things. Lots of leafy vegetables. You know, fruit, keep that to a minimum if fat loss is your goal. I just personally try to eat what is in season for fruit. Not saying you can never eat it, but you know, there is a lot of sugars in fruit, so you got to watch that you don't replace like your sugary treats with fruit. A lot of people make that mistake because they're craving sugar. And then healthy fat, like fat as a condiment. A big problem in the keto community, and I see this in all the ketogenic support groups, is like, why am I not losing weight? Why am I not losing fat? They're overeating on fat. Too much fat. Guys, fat has double the calories per gram that a gram of like carbohydrate, more than double the calories of protein. So if you eat enough protein every day, that will really help your appetite. And if you eat enough bulk from vegetables, you will also not want to overeat. So, and then just fat, you know, like as dressings and for cooking and stuff like that. If you stick to that, like, you'll be doing better than 90% of the population.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not echoing to everybody else. But I do appreciate you coming on tonight. And spend a little time with me on my Keto Talk Thursday.
Yeah, I'm always happy to educate. And you know, Ivan, if you have friends or people that are curious and need more detailed information, put them on the phone with me. We can have a conversation, because you know, everybody's different, right? Everybody has slightly different needs. I don't like to like prescribe like a blanket thing for everybody. So it's nice to know, like in our Pruvit community, you have access to people like me that are, you know, can get very technical if needed. And I've seen a lot of different people and a lot of different issues, and I'm happy to help you work with anybody to help them find success. And, you know, if you're watching this, guys, reach out to Ivan. Ketones changed my life. I became a promoter for them because I saw value in really helping people to really change their lives. It's amazing in our community, the support as well. So we encourage people to really plug into our community. We have an amazing Facebook page. We have a great Instagram page. Our Keto Reboot community is amazing. If you get that reboot kit, you can get into that group as well. So there's so many opportunities to learn, and the information is accurate. Like, as somebody who's a scientist and a nutritionist, I see a lot of garbage online, right? There's just a lot of misleading information. I can tell you, like, what I see from Pruvit is really the best, the latest, the greatest, and they're constantly, you know, evolving. If they say something one day and then the new research comes out to say something else, well, they will publish that, they will post that, they will help people. They don't stick to their one line just because it is what they said. If something changes in this space, like, they're always getting better. That's just like our Keto Nat is the only naturally fermented ketone that's 100% identical to human ketones. Like, this is the only one. So, like, it's so safe, it's so natural. You cannot put a better calorie in your body, literally. When I'm out and I don't know like if the food around is going to be like good for me, I'll just drink my ketones because I know it's the best source of energy I could put in my body. So that's really, I mean, like I said, Ivan, I could go on and on, but you know, feel free to get people on the phone and reach out. So.
Well, I really appreciate your time, and I won't take into much more of it, but I really, you guys were awesome. It's been a great experience. And, you know, look forward to having more Keto Talk Thursdays coming on. So,
awesome.
Anyways, thanks again. I appreciate you.
Yeah. If people have questions, they can put in the comments, and I'll answer. If you can't answer, I'll help you out with answering anything technical, or I'll message people if that's okay, and we'll get them going.
That'll work for me.
Awesome.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.